Hey, what's up? This is Soul Jam Reviews, and these are my top 50 albums from 2025. Most reviewers do these videos late in the year, but I like to finish the year before I do my list, so I really know which record was my favorite one. So let's get straight into it. I'm gonna rattle through the first 30 or 40 places pretty quick, and then dive a little bit deeper into my top 10. At number 50, I have All the Flowers Have Bloomed by Kofi Stone, great UK conscious hip hop that you should definitely check out. At number 49, I have a live album from a great German post-rock band, Live at Lichtburg by Long Distance Calling. At number 48, I have one of the most consistent melodic death metal bands from Finland, which is Amorphis, and the album Borderland. At number 47, I have a great UK jazz act that you should definitely check out if you're into jazz. More of a jazz funk afro beat style. Tough Times Never Last by Kokoroko. At number 46 and 45, I have two great thrash metal albums that you should definitely listen to if you like thrash metal. At number 46, it's Wrath and Ruin by Warbringer, which I also got the opportunity to see live this year. Amazing band with more blackened vocals, which I love in thrash metal. And pretty much the same for my number 45, which is The Third Dimension by Hazard. At number 44, I have one of my favorite hip-hop albums of the year, which is Alfredo 2 by Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist. Great production on this album, and really a more laid-back atmosphere, which I love in hip-hop. At number 43, I have, which is going to be one of their last albums in this style of music, but I have absolutely enjoyed every single one of their more modern records, and that is Swans with Birthing. At number 42, I have a band where you never really know what kind of an album you will get, but most of the times I enjoy them, and that would be King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with Phantom Island. At number 41, I have one of my favorite ambient and electronic artists, which is Steve Roach, with a live performance called Crossing the Bridge, live in Boulder, which was actually released in 2024, but I think very late in 2024, so I only got to listen to it in 2025, but I loved it. At number 40, I have a great jazz album by an UK saxophonist that you should definitely know. She's called Emma Ravitz, and the album is called A Big Visit, and she's playing together with a pianist called Gwillem Simcock. At number 39, I have an album that I didn't really expect to enjoy this much. It's a power symphonic metal album, Here Be Dragons by Avantasia. At number 38, I have Kamasi Washington with his soundtrack to Lazarus. At number 39, I have a great jazz album called Solace of the Mind by Amina Claudine Myers. The album just does exactly to your mind what the title suggests. At number 36, I have a great collection of low-file tracks from Bring Me the Horizon. The album is called Low Files. At number 35, I have Letters. The album is called Letters with a Colorado Symphony. Great live performance, I think over 2 discs, and just amazing vocals, amazing horns on this album. Check it out. At number 34, I have the second solo album by Lars Fredrik Freusler, which is called Gamble Master. He's the keyboard player for the progressive rock band Wobbler. Amazing second solo album. At number 33, I have an absolutely crushing atmospheric sludge metal album by Conjurer, which is called Unself. At number 32, I have Waving at the Sky by Afkrist. I really enjoy this album a bit more than their debut, mostly because I think there are much better guitar parts on this one. But absolutely solid release. At number 31, I have a German punk rock band Feine Sahne Fischfilet with their maybe 6 or 7 album, Willkommen in Frieden, which is basically We're Coming in Peace in German. Also got the opportunity to see them live this year, and yeah, they always bring the energy, so if you like high energy music, don't miss this one. At number 30 I have one of the best jazz rap albums that I've ever heard, which is Magic Alive by McKinley Dixon. At number 39 I have Joe Bonamassa with Breakthrough. His last couple of albums have been absolutely consistent, great tracks, which is I think always the most important about an album. I like good production, but at the end of the day I want good tracks, and he's absolutely delivering good tracks on these last few albums, so check it out. At number 28 I have another great jazz album, which is Tom Gershwin's Wellspring. At number 27 it is Big Thief with Double Infinity. Adrian Lanker has been my favorite voice over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, so any album which has her voice on it is gonna be high on my list. Number 26 is a comeback album over 40 years in the making, which is crazy to think about. It is Renaissance by Semandi. At number 25 it is Emma Ravitz again with Incura. I always feel like she is channeling her inner John Coltrane on every one of her records, so if that isn't enough reason to give this album a listen for a jazz fan, I don't know what is. At number 24 I have another great, more calming jazz release, which is Expanding to One by Phsonics. At number 23 I have a progressive metal album by one of the best to ever do it, which is Parasomnia by Dream Theater. At number 22 I have Finnish death doom metal band Hooded Menace with their album Lachrymose Monuments of Obscuration. Crazy title, but amazing music. At number 21 I have one of my favorite soul albums of the years, which is Teal Dreams by Yasmin Lacey. At number 20 I have a band which I consider absolutely essential listening if you're into the more melodic progressive death metal style, which is The Sleeping City by An Abstract Illusion. At number 19 I have my second favorite hip-hop album of the year, which is Let God Sort Him Out by Clips. At number 18 is another great progressive metal album by a German progressive metal band called Philosophophobia, and the album is called The Constant Void. Very melodic death metal, not death metal, progressive metal. So if you like your progressive metal with a bit more of a melodic side, definitely give this one a listen. At number 17 I have one of the most intimate and calming listens of the year, which is Bon Iver's Sable Fable. Absolutely amazing acoustic guitar on all of these tracks. This is definitely music to just close your eyes to and let your soul drift away. At number 16 I have another progressive metal album with more of a melodic side to it. If you like the Philosophophobia album, definitely also check this one out, which is Veils of Illumination by Virtual Symmetry. At number 15 I have another live album by the progressive metal band Haken. It's called Live Forms an Evening with Haken. Even though they pretty much just perform the tracks as you know them from their studio albums, I still think it was an absolutely stellar performance, so I loved listening to it. At number 14 I have one of my favorite jazz albums of the year, which is I think just a perfect album to put on late at night and just drift away to, because it also features some harp playing, which I love. It's Dafa Youssef's Shiraz. At number 13 is In Mourning with the Immortal. In Mourning is, in my opinion, one of the most consistent bands in this melodic death metal style. I don't think they have put out a bad album, and this one is no different. At number 12, I have a band that reminds me of Radiohead, which is definitely good. It is Panchiko with Ginkgo. Definitely check this one out if you like Radiohead. Absolutely amazing, especially like OK Computer in rainbows. If you like this sort of style, don't miss this one. At number 11, I have one of the most amazing soul albums I have ever heard, I think, which is Annie and the Caldwells with Can't Lose My Soul. I just remember listening to the first track on this album and being hooked instantly, and I'm pretty sure you will be too if you listen to this album. At number 10, top 10, is great spiritual jazz by a band called The Circling Sun. The album is called Orbits. Very meditative jazz style that I just love to kind of zone out to. Their last album from 2023 was amazing as well, and I think this is only their second album. So if they keep improving at this rate, it's gonna get sick. At number 9, I have an album that came out in January actually, which was for a long time frontrunner for my album of the year, which is As Darkness Falls by The Obsidian Resurrection. Their music is described as symphonic metal with death metal and thrash metal influences. Sounds crazy, but I think it actually is true. It is just one of the most crushing metal albums I have heard all year, and I think it has very much been flying under the radar. So I definitely wanted to put this one high up, and I think it deserves to be in my top 10. At number 8 is A Green Carnation with A Dark Poem Part 1, The Shores of Melancholia. Also got this one on CD in this nice little box, which you can only get if you buy the first part. And this one here is the first part. Great cover as well. Green Carnation has just, I don't know, it has such a consistent sound, and on this album I feel like this album just flies by. Some albums have a very consistent sound and great sound, and therefore the album just flies by so fast. It's only like 6 or 7 tracks. Every one of these tracks is amazing, so once you're finished listening to it, you just want to put it on back again. At number 7, I have progressive metal, progressive rock band Majestric from Brazil with their Espresso della Vita Lunare album. This is a 2-part series. They put their first album out in 2018, which was called Solare. It's a concept album, and the concept is about your life being a train ride. And they describe like all of the experience you have in life as with this metaphor of the train of life. If you're into prog concept albums, this one should be on your list. At number 6, I have Testament with Parabellum. Testament is definitely for me the most consistent thrash metal band of all time, probably, with probably my favorite discography ever of any thrash band, and their output in the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s has been absolutely amazing, and this album is no different. I also got to see them for the first time live this year, which was amazing as well. It features also one of my favorite thrash metal ballads, probably of all time. Which is called Meant to Be, I think. Yes, Meant to Be. 7.5 minutes. Absolutely amazing. And I don't know if Testament ever made a bad album, but their last 5 or 6 have been pure gold. At number 5, I have my favorite ambient album of the year. I'm a big ambient fan, especially I like to listen to ambient music while I'm reading. And this one is an album in a series called Quiet Details, and the artist is called 36, and the album is called A Warm Static Sphere. And I honestly couldn't describe this album any better than in the CD package. So I'm just gonna read that to you, and if it intrigues you, definitely listen to it. A Warm Static Fear is about finding peace through isolation. It's a record doused in gentle hum static, which when played quietly through headphones acts like a warm, involving sphere around the head. It's like this private isolation zone between the listener and the outside world, which feels warm and safe inside. The music opens up slowly, revealing its quiet details, purposefully often hidden deep within the loops. Absolutely amazing. Check it out. At number 4, I have my favorite live album of the year, which is Adrian Lenker. Yeah, I talked about her. The album is called Live at Revolution Hall. She has this great, like delicate and quiet voice, which always makes me feel like she's listening to me. I think this album is over 2 hours long, which is a collection of her latest solo tour. There's a lot of crowd interaction as well, and yeah, once you listen to this album, you just feel like you're in the crowd with all of the people there, and listening to her singing about love and peace. It's just amazing. At number 3, I have The Blue Nowhere by Between the Buried and Me. Yeah, progressive metal band from USA. I think most people didn't enjoy this album too much, but for me these are the best clean vocals I have heard on any Between the Buried and Me album ever, I think. Yeah, and I just couldn't stop listening to it, so that's why it deserves number 3. At number 2, I have my favorite hip-hop album of the year, which I also got on vinyl, which is Little Sims's Lotus. Yeah, I got into her with her 2021 album. Sometimes I might be introvert. Then I skipped her last album actually, and somehow got back into her with this album. And I just think this is the best hip hop album of 2025. It has great lyrics, great production, great beats. I love her more talking style of rapping, and especially the last track, Blue, featuring Sampha, is absolutely amazing. And there's one track, I think it's the track Blood, where she's talking to her brother about her family, and in more of a concept style track. And I just thought this was absolutely jaw-dropping storytelling on this track. Yeah, and if you like hip hop and you didn't listen to this album in 2025, definitely do it in 2026. At number 1 in my album of the year, it is Okonski with Entrance Music, which I also got on vinyl. I think most people put the album at number 1, which they feel is the best album of the year. But I definitely don't believe this is the best album released in 2025. I'm more of a believer in like what is the album that touched me the most, that got me thinking the most, that well, like the first time I heard it, I was instantly hooked. And I just remember the first time listening to the opening track, October, and just being absolutely hooked by the piano playing of Steve Okonski. And ever since I heard the first track, I had this sense of familiarity with the album, where I just thought I knew the album for like a few years. And I think if an album does that to you, that's pretty special. So that's why for me this is the best album of my favorite album of 2025. Yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you found some albums you don't know or want to listen to or you will enjoy. I will be mostly doing album and single reviews on this channel. Yeah, and if you're into music and want to know about good new music, I hope you'll follow along and enjoy the ride. Until next time, have a good time.